I just got done watching Atlanta and wanted to hop on and make a quick video touching down on the Porsha and Dennis of it all. I think it's pretty clear to see that Dennis is not really a changed man. This is a guy who got caught cheating and he wants to get Porsha back. And so he knows he's in the doghouse, no pun intended. And as a result of that, he knows he has to apologize and he knows he has to make amends. But the thing of it is, when you watch Dennis and when you watch his behavior, he clearly doesn't really want to fully apologize. He wants to do what I would call a hit and run. Like, he basically just wants to say, okay, I'm sorry, like, let's move on, we're done. You know, he just wants to sweep it under the rug. He wants everything to be back to normal. He wants to do the grand gesture of like dropping down on one knee, updating the ring, re-proposing, and he just wants to keep it moving. And you can see that whenever Porsha really sort of wants or expects or requires him to really drop in and take accountability for his behavior in a way that really shows humility, and I think more importantly, doesn't just show humility, but opens him up to receive some sort of judgment, condemnation, or feelings of righteousness from other people. He simply does not want to do it. You hear him saying things like, yeah, I'm sorry, but we're a family now, da, 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 da. Yeah, I'm sorry now, but you blocked my call, da, 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 da. It's very much like the Jax Taylor school of apology. It's like, let me just say what I need to say to get this done and move on. But we're not gonna sit and really marinate in any of this. We're not gonna sit and actually steep in the reality of what I've done. And I'm certainly not gonna sit here and open myself up to you to have the opportunity to truly confront me about what I've done and to have the upper hand in that way. There's something about Dennis, he just wants to apologize, to be done with it, and to move on. And it's concerning. And I think the interesting thing about this, like when I drop in and when I feel into it, it's like, what's behind that, right? What's underneath that? Because you'd think if this is a guy who understands who made a mistake and keeping his family is really important to him, you think this would be the moment, right? Where he basically just stops and says, okay, like I gotta take my lumps. You know, this is what's asked of me right now. Like, I'm so sorry. What can I do? What do I need to do? Let me do it. But that's not what he's doing, right? So it's like, what's underneath that? And so for me, when I drop in and I kind of feel into the part of Dennis that just wants to basically keep it moving, yeah, I'm sorry, but ... What I feel underneath that is a lot of entitlement. I feel something so entitled, and I feel something so angry. It's like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Yeah, I fucked up, but I'm not opening myself up to this. No. He knows he can't get angry. He knows he's been caught. He knows he's not allowed to get angry, so he's not actually going to vocalize or externalize the anger. He's not going to bring it to the surface, but to me, it feels there's a passive, covert anger. A part of him saying like, I'm not doing this, and I don't gotta do this. Yeah, I'll say what I need to say, but we're not sitting around here too long. Just because I did this doesn't mean you get to pile on me. So there's this thread and flavor of entitlement. And what it leads me to believe when I sort of track the feeling even further is that this is a man who also felt entitlement within the cheating itself. You know, like that this wasn't just kind of like an accidental slip of like, a slip of willpower. And oops, I made a mistake. But instead that this is a guy who I think has a lot of really passive-aggressive rage in him, and who's coming from this place that basically says, like, I get to do what I want, when I want, whatever the fuck I want. And I know that I can't actually say that out loud. Like, I know I have to pretend otherwise, but deep down on the inside, I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And if you've got a problem with it, fuck you. And I think that's why he was able to do something like cheat on Porsha in the first place while she was pregnant, because I think this is someone who does come from a deep place of entitlement of me, what I want, what I want, what I want. And when I drop into it even further, I think like what I feel underneath that, like what causes someone to have that mentality? What causes someone to be so I-focused that they truly get to believe that they get to do what they want, when they want, how they want, and if you have a problem with it, fuck you. And for me, the answer lies in this sense of like, I feel like Dennis is someone who there were things that were done to him that never really got accounted for, that were never really taken responsibility for, that other people basically got what they wanted in relationship to him, and that there were parts of him that got shut down, and that it was never really answered for. And so as a result, because he had these early experiences of other people's wants invading on him, on his energy, never being answered for, never being accounted for, there's this underground anger in him that's kind of like, all right, well, if you guys are gonna get away with all of this against me, well, guess what? I get to do whatever the fuck I want. If I don't get to say anything about it as a young kid, if I don't get to have my anger, if I don't get to say, hey, no, I don't like this, if I don't get to protest, okay, I'm not gonna protest, but you know what I am gonna do? I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna ever voice my anger, because I'm not allowed to do that, but I'm gonna take it out really passive aggressively, and I'm gonna make sure I get mine. Because I'm not getting mine now as a kid, so I'm gonna just keep getting mine and keep getting mine now as an adolescent, as an adult, as a father, as a husband. And I think that's why we're seeing him so resistant now to step into true accountability, because I think on some level it's hitting him in this really early place where other people somehow got to take advantage of him and it was never answered for. So there's kind of this young voice in him that's just like, well, what the fuck? What the fuck? No one got to answer. No one had to answer for what they did to me. I'm not answering for anything. Oh shit, I know I got caught, so I gotta pretend to be sorry to fix this up. But we're not dwelling too long on this, because no one dwelled on it too long with me. And I think it's really interesting that, if you look at kind of like the tableau that the Real Housewives of Atlanta is presenting us with, what you have is Dennis at a table full of women. Like, he's got to answer to all these women. He's got to answer to Porsha. He's got to answer to his mother-in-law, his sister-in-law, his own mother. Even his child is a daughter. And it's such an interesting visual image or thematic image for me of this man who has to answer to all these women. And I bet, I have this feeling, I have to imagine that a lot of Dennis's sort of original issues, like this place where he feels like he got somehow energetically taken advantage of, a lot of this has to do with his mom, who we haven't seen too much of, but the little we've seen of her, she does seem to have a very strong personality. She seems to be someone who has no problem asserting herself and inserting herself and having opinions. So it's not hard for me to imagine that this woman, that her energy was a dominant force in Dennis's life, and that parts of Dennis really got shut down. Like, that he was not allowed to have all of himself. He was not allowed to have all of his energy. And you can kind of see that in Dennis, right? He's kind of like a sad sack. He kind of just seems a little he doesn't reveal much on his face. He doesn't really emote. He kind of stumbles and mumbles around, But we know he's got enough life force energy in him, one, to be a successful entrepreneur, but also to be a cheater, and also to be passive aggressive enough to want to kind of just sort of wheel and deal his way out of it. Because passive aggression, it may be passive, but it's still aggressive. So we know that Dennis actually does have a lot of strong life force energy in him, but he's not willing to sort of bring it to the surface because he's learned from an early age that he has to kind of be passive aggressive with it, because I think that these vital parts of him got shut down from a young age. Now, what I think is so interesting is like watching Porsha just totally be so selective in what she sees of Dennis. So, Porsha isn't paying attention to all the signs that we're paying attention to. We as viewers, we're looking at Dennis basically sitting there saying, yeah, I'm sorry, but ... And we're just like, Porsha, can't you see what's right in front of you? But what Porsha is seeing, she's seeing the man who's actually sitting down and being willing to apologize. And she's putting on those rose-colored glasses. And I just think it's such an amazing example of someone, and this happens all the time in life. I see it all the time with clients. I see it all the time with friends. And we all have ways in which we do it. It's like where we're investing our energy in something that's fundamentally not going to work, right? I mean, Porsha is investing her time, heart, and energy in something that's not going to work because she's refusing to let herself see the real world evidence that's in front of her. And she's choosing to see what she wants to see in the place where she wants this to work out. Porsha's ego, Porsha's mind has an image of what she wants, and what she wants is for this family to work out. So she's selectively looking at the clues that she wants to see to write that story. And she's unconsciously or semi-consciously choosing not to see the clues that don't fit that story. And I think, well, first of all, we do know where this is going to go. There was something again in the media recently about Dennis being out till 4 a.m. with women, and Porsha deleted him off her Instagram, right? We know where this is headed, right? But we can see the writing on the wall now because Porsha's not willing to be in full reality. I'm sure Porsha's sitting there kicking herself, being like, how could this happen again? How could I let this happen again? But the thing is, we're seeing her do it. This is exactly how it's happening. She's choosing not to see what's in front of her, right? So I'm just saying this, guys, because it's such a tempting thing to do as human beings when our egos and our small minds get fixated on what we want. It can become so easy to ignore the things we don't want to see and to only see the things we do want to see. And it's why it's so important, you guys, to always stay rooted in reality and to always stay focused on what's actually in front of you. And to understand the old adage is so true: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Believe them, because the writing was on the wall with Dennis right now. He was not even willing to give Porsha the benefit of the willingness to sit down, drop in, apologize without qualifying, to truly open himself up to humility. He wasn't willing to do it. And Porsha wasn't willing to see that. And I think what's really interesting is Porsha is so illustrating how we ultimately are the ones who keep ourselves unconsciously stuck in these cycles and these stories, and then we wonder how and why it happens, right? Like Porsha said it in her interview. She said, I'm not used to a man being willing to even sit down with my family and apologize, right? What we can take from this, and what we also know of Porsha, is she's not someone who's had a history of great relationships. This is not someone who has truly believed herself worthy, or that it's even possible to have a man who's going to truly meet her as an emotional equal and truly kind of prioritize her well-being and what's fair and right for her in the same way that she's willing to do for him, right? She doesn't even believe that's a possibility, right? So in the place where she doesn't believe that that's a possibility, that's the story she's got going on in her head based on prior experience. So she chooses to believe that reality, basically you can't really sort of trust guys to come through for you in that way. And so in that place where she doesn't believe that it's even possible to have something more, she settles for less. She ignores what's right in front of her. I think part of the problem is Porsha doesn't want to let herself see the truth in front of her because she doesn't believe that there's something better out there for her. because her past experience hasn't showed her that, right? She doesn't want to take the risk of being in reality about what's going on with Dennis and having to get clear that he's not really a changed man and letting the relationship go because she doesn't really believe that there's something necessarily better around the corner. And that's how she keeps herself locked in the cycle, though, because she starts making, or she continues to make, these choices that don't serve her. She keeps herself locked in a reality where she is settling for less. And because she is continuing to settle for less, she ends up being disappointed by Dennis, which is then going to sort of confirm her worst fear, which is you can't trust men. There's nothing better out there for her. But if Porsha were willing at this point in time where we're seeing her on the show to actually rewrite a story for herself and to say, you know what? Maybe past experience hasn't shown me that there are guys out there that I can trust and believe in, but I'm changing and evolving and growing, and I'm choosing to believe and to write new stories for myself and to have faith in what the universe has for me if I rise and meet the universe. So, in that place of faith and trust, I am going to be honest about what's going on with Dennis right now. I am going to hold him to a high standard. And when he can't come through for me in a real humble way, I am going to be willing to let go of this relationship. I'll co-parent with him, but I'm going to be willing to let go of this relationship and not settle for something that's beneath me. And the thing is, if she'd be willing to make that choice in that moment, to be in reality and to take a chance on a different story, that's the exact moment where she'd be changing her own inner vibration. And that vibration is the very thing that ultimately could attract a guy who would treat her as well as like Eva's husband treats her, or even Nene's husband. I mean, I have such issues with Nene and Greg, but I will say Greg does seem to be a doting husband. What I'm trying to say is there are good guys out there. There are good guys out there. Porsha just isn't vibrating at a frequency of drawing in a good guy because, again, she's not making choices that honor herself in that way. As long as she's willing to settle for less, as long as she's willing to settle for Dennis's because she's choosing to stay stuck in the story of that there are no better guys out there, that is what she's going to continue to draw in. And so at a certain point, she's going to have to be willing to get into reality about what's in front of her and to give up her fantasy, her ego, her small mind's desire for what she wants in terms of like holding this family together, and to instead open up to like what the universe truly wants to bring to her when she's willing to actually make choices that affirm her worth as a woman, a romantic partner, a wife, and a mother. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, follow me on Instagram. I post so much original content there about the housewives and otherwise. It's Jamie Stein. And if anything I'm saying resonates with you and you're interested in intuitive reading, head over to my website, hollywoodreadings.com, and send me an email.